Welcome to the Tiffany Marie Brannon Show. I'm Tiffany Marie Brannon, and today I'm joined by my friend Elizabeth Berman Barcohana. Hi.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So great to be with you in person. I love seeing you.
I love seeing you too. And thank you for joining us. Now, for those of you who do not know about Elizabeth, you are an LA native.
Yeah.
You come from a conservative Jewish background growing up. Your dad, I believe, was a co-founder of the Republican Jewish Coalition here in town.
On the West Side, he
Yeah.
helped get it started out here.
You went to UCLA for undergrad and
Yes.
USC for law school.
Yeah.
You're a wife, a mother of 4. We met doing Fox News together, and you are a true voice for a lot of the people that don't have one here, not just in California and LA, but I think nationally.
Thank you.
It's true. So you're kind of a badass all the way around. It's true. And I know that, you've been very vocal in especially with the last election cycle, whether it's Gavin Newsom or President Trump or what's going on with all that. How did you really get involved in being so vocal? Like, obviously, you were raised with this family, but how did you personally make that decision to continue that family legacy?
I feel like I was forced to by not only circumstances, but also people describe it as a calling. It was this, I couldn't stop it. I couldn't, I had to talk. I had to get it out of my body. I felt like, it was just this inertia that wasn't really coming from me. I feel like it was coming from somewhere else. So what got me started, actually, even though I was always conservative and I always voted, I was never active in conservative politics. I wasn't even a registered Republican at the time.
way.
Yeah, no, I was independent. I registered as an independent when I registered to vote when I was 18, and I never changed it. And it was when they closed the schools here in California in 2020. I had young children. My oldest was in kindergarten at the time. And that was not only did they close the schools, the public schools, they closed the private schools as well. And then at the same time, BLM and defund the police and all of that was looting and burning down the cities, including here in Los Angeles. They were going to football games on Sunday with no masks on and then requiring the children to wear them on Monday on the playground the very next day. There was so much open hypocrisy and intrusion into the family unit and decisions that my husband and I are supposed to be making for our children. The government was trying to make it for us. And not only that, it was extremely divisive. I mean, everybody who lived through it remembers,
That's why I left LA. That was the era.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not surprising. And I had conversations with my husband when Newsom announced the vaccine mandate. The mothers were beside ourselves. And some of us actually went insane temporarily. I was one of them. And we were considering all kinds of alternatives like homeschooling system, a co-op, something like that, because there was no way that was going to happen for my kids. And I wasn't alone. And not only was I not alone in my friend group, there were other people who were Democrats who felt the same way.
So it was even a bipartisan issue. You're messing our kids up. This is not a political problem. This is a family unit nuclear problem.
Yeah. And the same actually was going on with the gender stuff and the critical race theory in the curriculum in the schools. So there was a lot of issues that were joining people together who ideologically hadn't been working together before. And so what I did was I was posting on my personal Instagram page a lot about what BLM was saying was actually factually inaccurate about the civil rights movement in America, the 1619 Project, things like that. And so I was on my personal Instagram with 300 or whatever followers, and people were my friends were screenshotting because it was private. They were screenshotting and then resharing, and people were begging me to make my account public so that it could go further. And my husband was like, absolutely not. Because again, it was a time when there was a lot of retaliation. He wasn't as concerned about retaliation against us as against our kids, for their future or for,
because we live in cancel culture, unfortunately, and that's the truth. True.
And it was a really different time back then than it was now. Thank God. Now it's a lot, there's a lot more of that.
Is that when you started Lady with a Brain?
Yes.
Okay. And that was more incognito, you never really put your face out there.
Correct.
Okay.
I never did. And the people who started with me originally when I was okay, guys, I'm doing this, here we go. Because that was the compromise with my husband, that I could do it, but it had to be anonymous. And so I was doing that for a couple of years. And it was the 2024 election cycle where I was recruited by the LA County Republican Party to run for Central Committee, which is like the influencer of the party at the local level. You have to get elected to that. So I had to run on the ballot in the primary with my name on it. I had to go and, register as a candidate and stuff like that. And I had to have another conversation with my husband, like about if I do this, it has to be that, people are going to know it's me. And he was very supportive. And actually, it turned out to be amazing. And I am.
What an
So,
incredible journey. Also, something that, because we can maybe touch on like the whole anti-Semitism and everything later. Just in hearing you speak and hearing how your decision was made, like I think that is such a rare point to point out that you made it with your husband
yeah.
as a married couple, as a unit, and that recognition is that Judeo-Christian principle of recognizing that God made marriage a certain way and that you work together and that the family unit and the nuclear family is so important.
Yeah.
And that is really how it should work. It's a team. It's a partnership.
We're one.
Yes, you're one. And you have to, like, when you commit to that, when you enter that covenant, so we have the ketubas that we sign and all that. It's like, I think so often, especially in today's society, say it's call her daddy. When they heard us talk like this, if they heard you say that, like I had to consult my husband, have a conversation with him, they'd be like, oh, trapped trad wife.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Well, what I do affects my husband, just like what he does out in the world affects me and our family. And it's not to say that I asked for permission, but I mean, we make decisions together and it runs both ways. There are times, I mean, he doesn't ask me about everything, but there are times when he does. And that was an important moment for our family. And of course, he's also like, he helps me analyze things and process things. And
he's your person.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really great to hear from you, especially since you are so smart. You're so well educated. You got into the best schools. You're a litigator, an attorney. You do class action lawsuits. Like you are a very smart force boss bay woman. And it's so refreshing. And I think I see this in like the small kind of little group we have going on where it is completely possible to understand that women and men are made equal but different, and we are different in our strengths and responsibilities.
Complementary.
It's all about complementarianism, and it's not competition. And I think that you really personify that so well.
Thank you. Well, I'm lucky to be married to a man who's not controlling.
How did you guys meet, by the way?
Different. Oh, it's a great story. This was like a modern day arranged marriage.
Really?
Yes.
I love it.
So we are multi-generational family friends, basically.
Okay.
So my great-grandfather was the cantor at a synagogue in Iran, in a very small town where his grandfather is also from. And they knew each other in Iran. And now here, my mom and his sister were at Mommy and Me together and became friends here in LA. And then when he was finished with he went to San Francisco for his education and his training, medical training. And when he moved back down, we were set up on a blind date with our, between his sister and my mom.
I love it.
But it didn't work. I mean, who wants to marry the guy that your mom set you up with on a
Literally
blind date?
no one.
No one. So it took us a few years to kind of keep going, to get it going. We dated on and off a few times. And then finally, when the timing was right, it fell into place.
That's incredible. I love that. What a great story. That's amazing. You think about it. It's like, it's a global relationship. Like seeds were planted years ago.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like with raising your kids here in LA, how has that been? Since you're from here, but have you seen it change demographically, just like in what you're concerned about for them?
The biggest change between how my husband and I grew up and how we're raising our kids that I see is public school versus private school. My husband and I went to public schools and they were good. And we had a good education and we were surrounded by a lot of like-minded families who were culturally similar. Like in our school, a majority of the students were Jewish, even though it was public school. It was just different then. And now there is not one chance, like not even a small percentage chance that I would ever send my kids
when
to
hell
a
freezes
public
over.
school. And I feel for parents who are, feel forced, even though they may not want to, or that private school is not an option for them. So that's why, even though my kids are okay in their private school, I think it's important that our public schools function properly. It's not about me and my kids necessarily. It's about society as a whole producing an educated electorate, an educated workforce, not indoctrinated little Marxists. So that affects everyone.
Yes. Well, what's interesting is that, and this is something I recently was just thinking about, conservatives are having all the babies, right? Liberals are not. Liberals are even like anti-natalist because don't get me started.
Okay.
We have an issue where we know liberal women are either not having children or having far less children than what this, because you need 2.1 kids as a couple to replace yourself.
Mhm.
So conservatives, on the other hand, I mean, you have 4 children. Most of my female friends that are conservative and married have around 4 kids, and the very least is 2. The average is about 4, which is incredible. I think
Wow.
all of my
That is,
friends have
yeah.
4 kids.
Yeah.
So they're doing their job. But with that, the conservatives are the ones that are doing, or at least people with our basic ideology, are the ones doing the population replacing or maintaining. So the only way that the Marxist liberals can continue their legacy is to then use us as the people makers, get into the education system, and then straight indoctrinate the product that we have created for them.
And also import the illegals.
Yes, because that's exactly what it is. It's a play, or a 2-part play where the importation of all the illegal immigrants, but also they're going after our kids. And I think that a lot of people are unaware of that. We work in a world where most moms have to work. Once we started having women enter the workforce and created the 2-income household, a lot of the wages for men, if they were just the single household providers, that flatline. And so then we're stuck in this thing where we do need, thanks to feminism, usually a 2, party household where both parents work. That's just the system, unfortunately, we've created for ourselves. So because of that, a lot of kids have to go to public school. A lot of kids are not totally aware of what they're learning, and their parents are busy with their lives, taking care of the kids, working, doing whatever errands, to where they're not clear on the indoctrination that's happening in the public schools.
It's not I'm not a working mom.
Yeah.
I'm home with the kids, and I can't keep up with everything that they're learning
You have 4 kids.
yeah. It's not only what they're learning in school, it's also what they're consuming online, because, if they have access to that and they have it through school as well, you can't control what they're being exposed to because it's not possible. So it's not only about the volume and keeping track of that. It's also, they use euphemisms to mask what they're actually doing. So like they think that, the parents think that the kids are being taught how to be good people and how to be tolerant and how to, serve your community and things like that. And so they don't actually know what's really going on. And these left-wing NGOs that are creating the curriculum material that's going into the schools are so good at being, subtle and under the radar and using, language that doesn't actually say anything to hide what they're actually doing. And it's not until, all the students in high school are wearing keffiyehs and like running out of class to protest Palestine in the middle of California, or what they did a few weeks ago where like a teacher unlocked the gates to a high school at downtown LA to participate in an ICE protest, or like, and then they like leave the kids behind. And, it's, it is what they're doing. They say that is what they're doing to each other and to other like-minded people, but they're not upfront about that with the parents. And a lot of people like are just well-intentioned people, and they assume other people have good intentions too. It's not necessarily.
It's that false assumption that humans are inherently good. When if you go back to the idea like we're inherently like sinful fallen people and like in need of atonement and redemption, and like we're not just inherently angels.
Mhm.
If often given the choice between virtue and vice, most people end up choosing the vice. It's kind of like Lord of the Flies. And I also think it's not just the textbooks and what we're teaching, it's also the teachers.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, how do we get better teachers?
How do we get better teachers? Well, they're not teachers. They
Yeah.
are not educators. They are they're labor union members, and they have become so powerful, especially in California. The SEIU and the teachers union have so much influence. And to the average person, they think that they're just working for workers' rights, or that the teachers are, there to, that their motivation is to improve education. That's not the purpose of a labor union. A labor union's purpose is to gain political influence and, and to negotiate more and more and more for their workers.
It's
It
the
has
oldest
nothing to do with kids.
I mean, the reason why JFK was JFK was because his dad was in charge of the unions. Like,
Mhm.
and no one wants to talk about how the Kennedy family was running all the unions back in the day. And I love RFK and I love Bobby, but you want to know where political power used to come from back in the day. This is a very old playbook that we seem to have
Mhm.
just completely forgotten that, this is how power is accrued.
Yeah.
And I also think, because okay, you and I are both very educated. I have master's degrees from some of the best schools in the world. I can't teach in California. I also can't teach in Arizona because I didn't get a 3-year teaching credential. That's absolute nonsense, which basically a certificate that makes me do ridiculous work that has nothing to do with what I would be teaching kids. And so you look at, Elon Musk made the point recently that he would not be allowed to teach any of the things that he knows about in
Mhm.
any serious platform unless he was given special permission because he doesn't have the quote unquote teaching requirements and credentials. Do you think that's a chokehold that's intentionally placed by the government, just to make money or to really control the people that do get in?
Not necessarily. I think that credentialing of teachers is important. You will have to make sure that they have the correct training to be in
Right.
the classroom. But what has happened is the people that have taken over that process are far left-wing radicals. And so they have injected that ideology into a process that is supposed to be about professional credentialing.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what happens with the governor election that's coming up
Mhm. Mhm.
with everyone. I know you haven't given your endorsement yet, have you?
No, not
Yeah.
yet.
Excited to see what happens. I'm like, what is Elizabeth saying today? Who's it going to be today? I'm taking notes. But do you think it's possible? Because we look back where Ronald Reagan was governor of the state,
Yeah.
right? And we look back at, even after him, we had Republican governors. We have Schwarzenegger. Even.
Wilson,
We had
Arnold
Pete Wilson.
Schwarzenegger.
We had and we can blame the fact that I love Ronald Reagan, but he did 2 things I'm really not happy with him about, and it's giving amnesty to 3 million.
Amnesty and the
Yeah.
mental hospital.
That's right. 3 things. Also the no-fault divorce. That
Oh,
was later. Yes.
that was Reagan? I
was
didn't know that.
Reagan. That was a national no-fault divorce. That was a Reagan problem. Giving amnesty to 3 million illegals in California tipped the scales, but it wasn't bad enough because we still had Pete Wilson, we still had Schwarzenegger. Do you think after having Gavin Newscum, as Trump calls him, for the last however many years, where he's wasted billions, and I'm sure we have untold fraud, that's even unprecedented and more than Minnesota.
Yeah.
Do you think that the state is really open and able to be saved and changed if we have the right leadership?
So you're asking me if California can flip red,
Maybe not even flip red, but maybe just start inching that way, or
moving the needle.
or start going back to the prosperous state it once was,
Yeah.
and not this vortex of homeless and drug and crime
Yeah.
and insanity.
Okay, so I would answer it in 2 ways, and both issues are different. So one is public opinion, and yes, the answer is yes.
You do think it?
Public opinion is definitely shifting. President Trump's election is evidence of that. There were 460,000 people in LA County who voted for President Trump who are not registered Republicans. He moved, I think 9 or 12. I don't remember what the final count was. It's either 9 or 12 counties to the right.
Wow.
And there are other examples. We flipped 3 seats in the state legislature in 2024.
Even with the Prop 50 redistricting?
It was before that. So and state legislature is different than Prop 50 redistricting, which is House seats,
Right.
congressional House seats, which they had to do because California is moving to the right. And so they wanted to eliminate the number of competitive districts.
Especially if we actually went through this the census and we're like, wait, but these people are illegal. They were going to lose 5 congressional seats.
Yeah.
So it was their way to pain.
Well, they're going to lose seats even without the issue of the illegals because
Everyone moving out.
because of the moving out. Yeah. So, and then if we get to a point where we're not counting illegals in the census, then it's like game over all across the country in a lot of blue states.
But you do think it's possible for us to
So,
flip red?
okay, so public opinion, yes, it is possible, and it is changing and shifting. Election result is a whole nother ballgame that public opinion is only one piece of it. The other piece is money. So a lot of California's money gets exported to other states. So this is something that I talk about a lot. Some people say, yes, that's happening, but there's enough money to go around. I think that when you have a budget of dollars that you're going to contribute and invest in something, you are supposed to invest the most in your number one priority. And your number one priority should be where you live.
Right. Hence, like the Make America Great Again entire principle, because we've been exporting everything to everyone else. Like, well, what about us?
Yeah,
it's like,
what about us?
Put your oxygen mask on first before helping someone next to you on the plane.
Right. And because people are like, well, California is so far gone. What is the point of even doing that? It's better to put your money into a competitive race where the Republican has a chance of winning rather than here. But there's races all over California that Republicans are sitting in the seats. And we just have to keep doing that. And if you don't, then it's just going to keep moving the wrong way. And eventually you're going to have to. Like, if you're planning to stay here, eventually you're going to have to fight.
You have to start carrying at some point.
Yeah. So the turnout is the third piece. So public opinion isn't necessarily translating into our turnout numbers. And that's what we saw with Prop 50. Their machine, their messaging, their funding, their ballot harvesting infrastructure, the way that they get people to turn out to vote early is years ahead of anything that we have even started to build.
Why?
Because there is a fixation on elections are not fair, like election integrity issues. And so we can't even get our voters to agree to vote early by mail in the first 2 weeks of the 30 days of voting. And by 2 weeks, once 2 weeks has passed, if your turnout is not at a certain momentum,
there's no way to catch up.
You're never going to catch up. And so then the money starts getting pulled back halfway through the election month.
What the numbers are, and they're like, well, this is a waste.
We're losing. Exactly.
I think it's because this is something, since I went to Pepperdine University, I went to UCLA for a hot second, I went to USC for grad school, and I did not finish that program. It was horrible. A bunch of crazy libs took over the journalism school. Shocker.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is that having lived here for a long time and gone away and come back, there is a defeatist attitude that seems pervasive within anyone that's not even just a registered Republican, but that disagrees with, the crazy, where it's almost like it's been so ingrained into them through public opinion or social media or just the loudest voice in the room, which is really like 3% of the population, that their vote doesn't matter. That if you're conservative, it's pissing in the wind, for lack of a better phrase. That's what I've been told literally verbatim by someone that works for the California GOP. And that you are just throwing away
I'd like to know who that person is.
Yeah. And they're not there anymore, but they were.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
This is good.
Yeah. We've been going through a cleaning house.
They were not a fan of Trump, so bye-bye. And it's been just ingrained in us that don't bother showing up because your vote does not matter. And I think that has been going on for such a long time that it is defeated. I would always show up to vote, but everyone's like, well, I don't know why you bothered. So how do you change that?
I call that loser mentality.
Yeah.
I have a name for it.
I love it.
Because it is. And it is something that we tell ourselves. And it's the same issue with election integrity. We are suppressing our own vote with that messaging. It is not true. It's not even true. So in LA County, we have 1,600 elected positions. Over 500 of them are filled by Republicans.
You would never think that.
You would never know
You would think
that.
it's like 1,599 are all Dems and there's like one lone
Correct.
Republican.
And now think of it. So we have 18% registered Republicans in LA County, but we hold over like 30% of the elected positions. So we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Compared to, relatively.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have, let's see. So when I encounter, my one vote doesn't matter, there are city council races, school board races, and other local things, especially in primaries, where the outcome is decided by less than 200 votes.
That's insane.
In California.
Also, these are so important. That's how they get in the system. You look at Ilhan Omar.
Yep.
You look at Zohra Mamdani. You look at all these people that now have major influential positions. They all started out in these community NGOs
Correct.
and then these city councils or school
Correct.
boards, and now they're destroying our
Nonpartisan.
nation.
So that's also something that I talk about, is making sure that we focus on the nonpartisan local races, not only to displace an Ilhan Omar or a Lindsay Horvath, who
Right.
also got her start in small city council, but to build our own bench to recruit up from into the partisan races. We don't have that going on.
Do you think there's a way to build that infrastructure? Not just
Yeah.
here, but nationally?
Yes.
Because how do we do it? I mean, I think about how they had Act Blue for fundraising.
Yeah.
And then we try like what? Win Red. It's the dumbest name ever. And it's like we know that there was probably like billions of worth of fraud that we won't be able to trace, that was given to Act Blue, that was sent out to BLM or all these crazy causes. Probably it's funding Gaza, who knows? But so like, here Hamas, here Hezbollah, just take the money. It worked as a platform and it was effective. So why is it that we aren't creating equally as aggressive and competitive things on the right?
What I'm experiencing, and I'm again like very new to this side of the
But you're so
inside.
wise.
Thank you. What I'm observing so far is that there is so much to do, and there is not enough people who are working on all the things that need to get done. And so, and those are long-term strategies.
Yeah.
We are dealing with so many fires that need immediate attention. Prop 50, again, another example of that, came out of nowhere, diverted attention and money away from our lead up to 2026. That was like a gift to the Democrats because it set us back.
And took what, 100 and how much billion or $1 million
to run the election.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of money. I don't remember exactly what, but they don't care. It's not their money.
No.
What do they care? So I think that there's so much that needs to get done that you prioritize the immediate things, and then the long-term planning and stuff like that is really hard to get going, especially because people are used to the donor class. They're used to getting pitched on things all the time. And to ask them to come in at the ground level without any proof of concept is really hard to do in California, from what I'm seeing.
I'm sure also it's not glamorous.
No, it's not sexy.
These are not sexy things. Like, you want me to do what for a school board position, or help with something that's going to effectuate change in terms of like infrastructure or
right,
a platform? It's like, these are not sexy things that they're going to get, their name on a building for, or be recognized at a winning election night speech.
Yeah. No, I know. When I talk about voter registration, a lot of people like go to sleep. Like, I can't.
Which is crazy.
It's like the most important thing.
It's crazy.
In my opinion right now, but that's okay.
That's how, I'm really good friends with Scott Pressler, I'm sure. And it's like, to see what he did and how he accomplished things just by voting, like getting people to register to vote.
Yeah.
And then seeing how Turning Point USA is just getting people to do the work by chasing ballots.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what makes the fundamental difference. It's not the fun work. It's having, the cute little 18-year-old out in 100-degree weather, knocking on doors and sitting at these little, card tables under some crappy tent with no AC, like getting rejected 20 times for every one time that they get someone to sign up. But that's really what needs to be done. But why is it that liberals, they'll march in 120 degrees for like hours? Or is it because we're paying them?
Bingo, ding, ding, ding. It's because they're getting paid to do that. And it's also, again, going back to the labor unions and stuff, it's like they get days off to go do that.
That's crazy.
And
so it's because we're working. We're actually like contributing to society, and they're just leeching off of it.
It's just a different mindset. It's just a very different mindset.
It goes back to, and kind of like where we started, communism, socialism, Marxism all comes from the same place. The first two rules are that you have to kill God because the government has to replace God. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't believe in God if you are going to be any kind of society that will succumb to those ideologies. And the second most important thing is you need to destroy the family unit. And when you destroy the family unit, you just take away the kids. That's why we have the public school systems. Like, give us your children, we'll raise them. Give us the daycare problem is a huge issue where now they're also being controlled by the same people and they're replacing the mom and dad. We now have more broken homes than ever. No one's talking about the single mom problem where we are giving billions and billions of dollars to help single moms who don't have a husband.
But like welfare, like
Yeah.
to single moms.
Yeah, the welfare, and not
That
just the welfare, but
destroyed the black
oh, completely.
community.
Within
Yeah.
10 years, the Black community flipped from a two-parent home. Was that LBJ that did that? Yeah, LBJ, where it was like the equivalent of almost like $40,000 today, where it's if you have a single child, you get this cash payout. And it went from 80% having a mom and a dad in the household to 10 years later, 80% being a single.
Reversed.
Yeah, it reversed it. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. So I think as much as you and I, for our lives now, spend talking about these political issues, something that I like talking about on the show because it's really the heart of the problem that we often don't get to is that this is a faith and family issue at the end of the day.
Agree.
And so where we're at, like, how do you think we can reinstill virtue in a society that's become virtueless? Where do we start?
Okay. So you said a couple of things that got me thinking. So a stable society is built on a few things, social institutions like the church and religion and the family.
Right.
And like you said, authoritarian, tyrannical, ideologies, they know that they need to destroy those things because those are major opposition factors. When you destroy a human being's belief in God, in a higher power, in morality, in, like you're saying, virtue, and also you invert the parent-child relationship where it's like the needs of the mother come before the child, that's an inversion. And you see it most
That's what
significantly.
Katie Faust is talking about in Put Them First, where, because I'm so sick, I mean, you and I know this, of divorce being acceptable. I'm so sick of parents saying, well, I just wasn't happy, so I cheated and I left my spouse, or, it's like, it was my journey. And they're not putting their kids first, and they're not realizing that divorce damages children, and then they become adults to have all these issues, and then they're incapable of, dating or marrying and continuing the family unit. I've experienced this personally where it's like, whether they're friends or romantic, partners where they've been so damaged by selfish parents who put their own needs and wants before their own family and their kids that now these kids have become adults and they find themselves scared of a future of forever or scared of committing and having a family of their own.
It interrupts the development of the ability to form intimate attachments, which is what you need to have a stable marriage. So what they are being taught, similar to in the transgender space, they believe that if I am unhappy in my household, then my child is unhappy. That it's both outcomes may be bad, but it's worse for parents to stay together and create this stormy household for the child. And there are certain cases where, of course, the parents can't reconcile in cases of physical abuse.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting issues and times and circumstances where divorce may be the last resort, but it should be
exceptions.
available.
I'm divorced. Yeah, so there's
Okay, but there are plenty of times like what you're talking about where, they say it's better to divorce and let my child grow up more peacefully, even if we're separate, than in this, unhappy household. Well, why isn't making your household happy one of the choices? Why is it only unhappy versus separate?
The grass is not always
And
greener
this
on
is
the other
something
side.
Katie talks about too, is that like, you know, with therapy and working on it, and religion also has there, it cannot be said enough. The faith-based community, keeping families together, has a very significant role to play. So anytime, you know, my husband and I are having an argument or something like that, we have a maximum of 6 days before Shabbat comes around, and we are going to be forced to be together as one big happy family, no matter what.
Whether you like it or
Whether the system, the framework of our
It's there to help
religious
us.
observance has all kinds of purposes,
Yes.
and this is one of
Same thing
them.
with church. And the thing is, you know, have you read John Mark Comer's book, The Elimination of Hurry?
Oh.
It's interesting. My sister and brother-in-law and I, we were part of this Bible study that talked about that. It really instills celebrating and recognizing the Sabbath as Christians and Jews, and
Mhm.
how, like, you know, even as Christians, we forget that because, like, on the seventh day, God rested.
Yeah.
You know, so believe in the first part too. But that liturgy, that tradition of having Shabbat, of coming together as a family,
Yeah.
of praying together. When you
Yes.
pray with, you know, who you're dating or who you're married to, with your children, that changes and transforms. Like, my niece and nephew are so different than a lot of kids I meet because they were so instilled with a love of God and knowing the family unit is intact and that there is something bigger and better beyond this world. I mean, my sister's third child died. It was, even though they were all very young and she was just a baby, they know that there's something bigger and greater
Mhm.
than this ephemeral world. So I think we really, I mean, we look at the fact that a huge problem, and you saw my hat I wore, thank you, Officer Tatum and Corinne Tatum, deport liberal white women. And I bring that up because with people like Zara Mamdani, with people like anyone that listens to the Call Her Daddy kind of podcast and content, they're all women that are voting this way. And most of them are single. The women are voting like 30 points to the left. And that trickles down into our dating, into the feminism, into relationships, into, like, I cannot tell you how much content I'm bombarded with as a single woman about, like, you know, boys sucked. Reformation just did that whole divorce collection, which made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. And it's like they're promoting this to women that are Gen Z, that are millennials. So, like, as like you're married, I'm single. What advice do you have for women like me or other women out there that are maybe more center in terms of like the dating and relationships aspects? Because, like, I just got my heart broken and crushed, and it's really hard to put yourself out there and to find quality guys.
Okay, so again, the faith-based community is a key piece of this. It naturally is going to surround you with people that are like-minded and who have similar values to you. And it also is a built-in support system, social system, where you're going to naturally meet those people and become part of a larger community together that is going to support you. And then you know, if you do meet your husband and you have kids, those are the people that you're going to raise your kids with and stuff like that. So having a faith-based community and institution that we are a part of has been a major part of this for me. My husband and I met because,
Right.
again, my mom and his sister, my sister-in-law, were at the preschool at the synagogue that both of our families went to, where I had my bat mitzvah, he had his bar mitzvah there. That is missing for a lot of people. And the other thing, so when we were dating, I think Obama was president, like, we didn't talk about politics. It wasn't like it is now. But we talked about other values that are kind of proxies for political issues now. And it was very important to me, things like, is it okay if I don't want to work? Is that okay? Are we going to depend on my income? How many kids do you want to have? Can we send them to a private school?
It's promoting traditional values and
Yeah.
that basic foundation that basically is informative of where they're going to be politically.
Yeah. And like knowing each other's family and how they grew up and did they come from stable, how, you know, it meant a lot to me that my husband's parents have been married for 50 years. And, you know, he came from a very stable family where they had dinner together at least once a week and they were constantly surrounded by each other. They all lived within a few, you know, within a 1 mile radius. of each other. My husband and I live 15 minutes away from our parents. We live the furthest
That's really
of
funny.
all of the, I mean, that's a big deal. And that was important to me to have that kind of, not only the community, like I talked about, but the immediate family and
But I
having,
think a lot of people our age, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but a lot of people our age, they don't have, especially women, they're not coming back to the church or back to the faith like the same way men are. And then they're faced with this like almost very, very like aggressive and combative thing when it comes to dating. And
it builds resentment and
yeah,
it comes across as bitterness and they're angry. And this is a result of like feminism that has taught women things that aren't true. It's not true that you can raise a child by yourself.
even though there's a massive spike in single moms, which is crazy, they're doing it by choice, like sperm donors.
Yes,
It's nuts.
exactly. That is, they are being sold some. Yes, you can actually produce a child without a husband or a man or a father in the child's life, but you cannot raise a child that way. It is contrary to human nature, and we cannot create things that are contrary to God's divine plan and then expect to have that we know better than him, and then have like a positive outcome. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
A child needs both a mother and a father.
I think once we fix that, we will save the world. So that should be our next. You have to come
Okay.
on and we can talk about that next time. Seriously, I wish we had more time to talk, but I just want to say thank you for coming on. And I think we should do like a whole series on this because this is something that
Anytime.
really needs to be discussed. Do you want to tell people where they can follow you and find you and support you?
Yeah. So Instagram at Elizabeth from California and X at _Barco.
You love those weird X handles. Mine's like Tiffany M. Brannon. I'm like, this is so weird.
Well,
But-
yeah, my name was too long. So
Mine's too. I also want to say thank you. And to everyone listening and watching, thank you for joining. Feel free to follow, subscribe. And as always, I'll be nicer if you'll be smarter.